Thank you everybody for coming. My name is David Hecht, and I'm the organizer of the Data Analytics Meetup here, so thanks for coming. We do this every other month. So the next one is August 4th or 5th or 6th, I can't remember, but it's on the Meetup. So. Anyway, I want to thank C9 for sponsoring the event, providing us with food and drink, and Rackspace, Geekdom, for hosting, as always. If anyone's looking for desks, this is a great developer co-working space. I think they charge $300 a month for a desk, and I work here full time. It's pretty nice. Yeah, so we're going to get started. So my name's David. I have a couple of apps on the App Exchange. CloudAmp is one of my companies. Lead tracking and Google Analytics dashboards for Salesforce. And I also have a company, App Frontier, which makes credit card payment processing for Salesforce, so all Salesforce apps. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Andy Twigg, who's the CTO of C9 Incorporated. He's going to give us a demo of the latest. What's that? Oh, you got a clicker? He's going to give us a demo of the latest predictive analytics.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thanks, David.
Thanks.
Yeah, so...
Huh? Oh, the light, yeah.
Projector. Yep, so thanks for coming. So I'm the CTO of C9. So C9 is a company that's been around a while, actually, about 5 or 6 years. And it started off as a database company, in fact, building federated databases, and somehow pivoted into a company that's doing analytics and machine learning on mostly on Salesforce data, but also Marketo and other forms of CRM and user data. So what I was going to talk about for about 15 minutes is some of our new sort of predictive sales stuff. So like I said, we mostly do analytics, but we're branching out now into trying to add a lot of machine learning to our products, and that's what I'll talk about. I wasn't quite sure what the audience would be, what the mix would be, so there's a variety of slides. So if you have questions, please feel free to jump in at any point, and we can go deeper on something. Okay. So what is the aim here? So I like to use the following analogy. So we're entering the era of the quantified self, right? And what does this mean? It means people are using Fitbit and all, weighing themselves and storing all this data and analyzing it, and that's interesting. But the sales market is a huge market, and there's actually much less quantification going on there than people are doing to their own bodies. Now, where C9 fits into this is we have, since we've been around a while, we actually have about almost $2 trillion in pipeline that people are managing using our tools. I'll show you some of the customers in a bit. We have, I don't know, going on for 100 billion sales observations, so we have a fairly rich data store. And what I'll talk about today is some predictive models that, for many customers, have doubled their forecast accuracy. And I'll explain what that means. So, here's the obligatory slide of customers. So C9 has mostly 3 applications. So it has, you see this? It has a pipeline application, forecasting application, and what we call a sales execution application. The idea is that these things are quite interlinked, right? So as you go through the sales process, you primarily use, for example, use the pipeline application, which I'll show, to manage the pipeline, understand what changed since last quarter or even since last night. Show me all my opportunities ranked by the probability that they're going to close in the next quarter, that sort of thing. The forecasting application is useful for when you're wanting to avoiding emailing around spreadsheets to all your sales folk, right? So essentially, this is a collaborative SaaS forecasting application that is tightly integrated into C9's product suite. For example, Yahoo uses the forecasting application, I believe, to manage a large percentage of their revenue. And lastly, the sales execution application addresses the problem that, well, you've understood your pipeline, you've built forecasts that you can stand behind, but then why aren't people executing against this? Is it because the opportunities were just junk, or is it because some people aren't executing well, and if not, why not? What can you do to improve? And again, we try to, our strategy here is to basically embed all the machine learning stuff we're doing into all these applications. So it's not something on the side, it's something much richer. I'll very quickly go through these. So here's sort of screenshots of the pipeline application. You can see you have all the opportunities down here. Here you can potentially see the hierarchy of users, and this is all pulled from Salesforce. So you've got all the hierarchy of users, and this could be a hierarchy of products or some other hierarchy. What, for example, was committed, what was closed at each level of the hierarchy aggregated up. Here you have a waterfall chart showing, for example, this is what was in the pipeline at the start of the period you're querying. This is what's changed. For example, this is one. This has moved out due to loss or something else, and you've ended up here. And here you would get all the details about exactly what has changed to each opportunity. And that's very powerful on its own, in fact. The forecasting tool looks a bit like this. It does look like this. Again, you have the same kind of hierarchy, and you can get the current judgments aggregated up. For example, everyone under sales would go here, and everyone under North American sales would go here. But then users can go and estimate their own, enter their own judgments, and this is all aggregated up and dealt with. And people can go and enter their own judgments on top of other people's judgments, and so on. So this is actually pretty useful. And a lot of our customers, before they were using this, they were emailing around Excel spreadsheets that were sort of tens of megabytes, and every week spending a long time trying to merge these together. And so, one nice thing you can do is, depending on your job title, for example, you can say, well, I'm interested in viewing the forecast that people have made by product hierarchy. Tell me what's the forecast of widgets of type A versus widgets of type B in this territory and versus this territory. Or someone else, a manager of sales reps isn't interested in that probably. He's interested in all the people underneath me, what forecasts have they made, and so on. Lastly, sort of sales execution piece. So we have some dashboards which allow us to rank salesmen against other salespeople based on, for example, various factors such as how good are they managing their pipeline, how good are they managing their deals, and you can get various other statistics from this. And this is nice because it's quite straightforward. It's a simple sort of scorecard, right? Oh, right, I forgot about this. So we have a new product which is called Lead Map, and this joins together, I believe for the first time, Marketo with Salesforce data. The idea here is that you've got a lot of leads that are in Marketo and you've got a lot of opportunities in Salesforce. There's no straightforward way to join these things together to say, of this opportunities that have been touched by this campaign, how did this campaign influence opportunities that finally closed and won? If I've got leads which were touched by 3 different campaigns, white paper, phone call, and something else, which of those 3 is the most important? Which order is the most important? Not just in converting to opportunities, right? Because that's not what you care about. You only get paid when someone buys your product. So how effective are those campaigns in actually getting to some revenue? So, good. That was my introduction to C9. So predictive sales is what I was going to spend the rest of the time talking about. These are, I like to have problem statements. So these are my problem statements. What do we want to do with predictive sales? What are our goals? Right. So I've divided them into 4 categories here. So the first one is forecasting. So how can predictive analytics help forecasting sales? Well, the first question is, well, as I showed you in the tool, people are allowed to just go and enter, I could enter $10 billion, and no one can stop me. People might enter judgments to say this is bogus, but it's there. And maybe I did this because I haven't got any other idea. But one big application of predictive sales here is to help people when deciding what judgments they should be entering. Right? So you would say, based on the data and based on historical analysis, you should be entering a judgment of $2.1 million. And here's why. Here are the opportunities which contributed to this estimate. For example, you might also like to know, which deals are likely to move in and out. This might affect what I'm going to forecast. So the ultimate aim of this is to build a forecast that you can stand behind. So when somebody says, why did you forecast X? You can say, well, here are the deals which I forecasted to be in, here are the deals which I forecasted to be out, here's why, here's what C9 said, and here's a fudge factor of 100,000 for good measure. So what about pipeline analysis? So the obvious thing that we already answer is, what happened to my pipeline? Right? You come in one day and it's shifted by $1 million, and you need to know, well, what's happened without spending the whole day digging through spreadsheets. But more interestingly, you want to know, what's likely to happen, and why is this likely to happen? Which deals are likely to, which deals might look good now, but really they're going to lose. What's a salesman doing about this? Or even more to the point, what can if I'm a salesman, what can I do about this? Right. So we'll talk about this. Predictive deal execution. This is maybe overlapping, but say you're a salesman, you're looking at an opportunity. You want to know, well, how can I win this? How can I get my commission? Or I've got a list of 200 opportunities. Which of them should I focus on today? If I really want to stop them, the ones that look like they're going to lose from losing, or I want to focus my attention on the ones where I can have the biggest impact. What discount strategies should we take? It's not sensible to give a blanket discount to everybody. Is it sensible to give a discount at all? Do you need to? And then more generally, what sales strategy should we take? How should we impact the behaviour? And lastly, one thing we're interested in is what we call deal surfacing, which means you've got some opportunities in your pipeline. You're probably going to project a revenue higher than this towards the end of the quarter. Why? Because there are some deals which you don't know about yet. For a lot of companies that we see, in fact, quite a significant fraction of their revenue every quarter just comes from things coming in the last few weeks. So we'd like to be able to predict, based on historical data, where are these, how many hidden opportunities are there? What do they look like? Where are you most likely to find them? So, I haven't seen this quote before, so I thought I'd be the first one to attribute it. So we have something which we call OpScore, C9 OpScore. And what is this? Well, basically it's the simplest level, it's opportunity scoring. And what is opportunity scoring? Essentially we go through and we take each open opportunity in your pipeline, give it a score between 0 and 1, as this is a fraction. And then we optimize some kind of win threshold, which would say, for example, anything above 0.61 is very likely to be a win, anything below that is projected to be a loss. Or what we typically do in practice is say anything above 0.6 something is a 0.62 is a win, anything below 0.48 is a loss, anything between those two numbers is we're not going to comment on this. We're not sure enough to make a comment. And interestingly, that's where the interesting stuff happens actually, because that's where the deals which are really likely to win, okay, they're good, they're on track. The deals which are likely to lose, they're likely to lose for one reason or another. Maybe it's just a bad fit. It's the ones in the middle where you should be spending your time. Right, so let's just get into it. So, for example, I wanted to dig a bit deeper into how the scores look. This is not a screenshot, but imagine if I gave you two opportunities that look like this, and I said, oh, I've pushed these scores into Salesforce, and you're looking at your opportunities. I've scored one of 58 out of 100 and one of 49 out of 100. I mean, which one are you going to, your salesperson, which one are you going to work on? I'll give you $100. You're going to work on this one, right? I mean, that's all. You don't know anything else. But what if I broke the score down and did something like this? Right, so I'm telling you, this one that you thought was good, the 58. Well, it has industry fit 48. That's not great. That's, you're executing really well on the opportunity, and it has 59 customer fit. This one here has a pretty good industry fit, meaning that we typically, deals like this typically really do sell, do well to that sort of industry. Has a good customer fit. That customer has been good, successful in the past to sell to, but the execution of this opportunity is bad. It's 38. And we also give you cues such as the sales cycle is too long, the amount is too high, things such as this. But now I've told you this extra information, I mean, you would choose this one, I think, because these are the things that you can influence, right? It's the execution that you can do something about. You can't go and make this industry fit better. You can't go and make the customer fit better. So you should probably spend your time working on this opportunity instead. These are the kinds of things that we're getting towards, and you can get this. You can get this at the moment. So another benefit that we have is the following. I like to explain it in this way. So I like to claim that at the start of every quarter, right? So you've got all the deals which you marked commit. At the start of a quarter, we can, on average, surface between 2 and 3x more winning deals. Winning deals being at the end of the quarter they'll have won. Then you can do based on looking at what you've committed to close. And we've seen this time and again in real data. So I think I looked at our own data. We're around 24% if we look at our commits, and it's pretty standard, it seems. With C9, we're estimating around 52% accuracy. So this really means, at the start of a quarter, you know where a much bigger fraction of your revenue is very likely to be coming from. You can really change your strategy. Another way of looking at this is the following. We generate these graphs from our data sets. At the start of the quarter, let's consider all the opportunities which are open, and let's try to predict where they're going to land at the end of the quarter. And this is a probabilistic model. This gives us the result of doing this is a distribution. So we can draw this blue distribution. It looks somewhat normal. But since we know, later on in time, we can go back and say what actually happened, what actually was closed from these opportunities, and that's the black line I've plotted here. And surprisingly, it sits pretty much in the middle, right? And this is 120 days out. So these are the kinds of benefits that we're giving with this tool. So I wanted to talk a bit about how the scores are computed, and please dive in if you've got some questions or want to talk further. It's probably the best way to do this. So what we do is we go to primarily Salesforce, and we take data from a range of other sources, but the opportunity data is from Salesforce. And we take all the lost opportunities, but we take the complete history of whatever happened to our opportunity. So every field, every custom field, every object we have access to, and we get this. We get every single change to every single field for the life of the opportunity. And we do this for all your opportunities. For some of our customers, we have 2 or 3 years worth of data. And based on this, we build a model, which is actually quite intricate because we really do have this rich historical data. And this model really tells us how we should, given an opportunity that's in this particular state and has behaved like it has in the past. What's the probability that it's going to win and close in the next quarter? And more importantly, what are the factors which influence the propensity to close? So, is it a good industry fit, or is it a bad execution? Is the sales cycle too long? That sort of thing. And I'm happy to talk a bit further if you want. I don't have too many slides about it. So, I should talk about a few features of this. So, like I said, we have these very rich historical data sets, and that's really a key differentiator, right, over most other companies of doing predictive analytics for sales, because, I mean, you may be familiar with this term, more data beats better algorithms, right? Can only tweak your algorithm so far, and you get to the point quickly where just throwing more data at it really makes it better. That's the phase that we're in here. We use hundreds of features. We use these actually quite powerful hierarchical and ensemble type models, which I'm happy to talk about. And these give rise to these partial scores. So here I call these partial scores. So this is the sort of overall score, and these are the partial scores. These for 78, 38, and 85. Okay. I want to talk about accuracy briefly. I didn't know if there was going to be a reaction to any of this. So I've heard the following a few times now, enough times for it to be annoying. So you may have heard it as well then. Someone comes to me and says, well, we're a predictive analytics company, we're 85% accurate or 80% accurate. I say, great, but sales data is very skewed. 80% of my deals, 80% of my opportunities eventually lose. So how does that work? I mean, if 80% of my opportunities lose, it's easy to be 80% accurate, right? Just predict everything is lost. So how does this work? And they say, well, we're 80% accurate at, we're 80% accurate at predicting the winning deals, the deals that win. Okay, fine. But being 80% accurate at predicting the deals that win is also pretty easy, because what do? You just wait until you're super sure about what's going to happen to this deal, and then you predict it. You might not predict much is going to win, but you're definitely 80% accurate. So I urge you, next time someone comes to you and tells you we're 85% accurate or 82% accurate or whatever it is, it's nonsense. It's a meaningless number to talk about accuracy for this. So a better set of measures is the following, which we use. We want to trade off the following two things. We want to first of all, surface as many of the deals that will win as possible. Right, so of all the deals that eventually do win, we want to say, a quarter in advance, we want to have said, for as many of those deals as possible, that they were, indeed they were the ones that were going to win. So, for people familiar with information retrieval, this is known as win recall. But we also want to do this without ending up predicting that everything will win, because if we predict that everything will win, this is easy as well. So we want to be somewhat accurate in predicting what will win as well. So we call this is called the win precision. Does that make sense?
And this is like standard machine learning, right? Precision versus recall.
You would think, but yeah, it's surprising how often people abandon these notions, right? So I urge you to push back on this notion of accuracy. So I wanted to just rephrase what we were talking about earlier, which was, I can phrase it more precisely, I guess, by saying we're going to identify 2 to 3x more deals that actually will win, right? So that's saying the win recall is about 2 to 3x better than what you predict using commits, with win precision of typically over 70 to 80% or more. And what you find in practice is that people are actually pretty good at precise at identifying what will win, but they have bad recall. And the benefit of this tool is it really improves the recall. I didn't know if I'd get the Wi-Fi working, so I'll tell you what, in place of a demo, I can definitely show you. This is what I was going to demo. So this is our tool. This is one part of the tool, which is the pipeline management tool. So here you have all the sales hierarchy by salesperson, and here you have a set of opportunities. And over here you've got, for each opportunity you've got a reason. Sorry, you've got a score, which is a C9 score, which is currently between 1 and 100, 0 and 100. And we've got a list of currently three reasons why this opportunity is scored as it is. So I think if you can see at the back, so for example, this one here says, well, it's closed, it's got 100, let's not look at a closed deal. So for example, this one here has scored it's in forecast category commit, it has a score of 71, It's been touched 9 times, and this is the most important feature that contributes to the score. And it says, that this is on track, meaning that for the data that's actually in this model, it's better to touch it a few more times than this. This data is not the best data behind this, but anyway. The second most important feature here is that it has the opportunity line item, which in this case actually also contributes negatively. But yeah, the data is not super good. But you get the idea. This is quite powerful. It's much more powerful than just surfacing a single score, right? And this actually is going to be available. So this is mostly available. Customers mostly use this in our tool at the moment. But very shortly, it's going to be available directly inside Salesforce if you don't want to use a pipeline tool. So it'll be available in the opportunity detail grid. We also do some visualizations around this stuff. This is not as clear as I would have liked. So for example, here we show, this is your pipeline, and it's week over week, so each bar is a week, and this is the amount in dollars. And the red, yellow, and green are striping the pipeline by the risk assigned to each of the deals in that pipeline. So for example, the green represents the sum of the values, the sum of the amounts due to all the deals in the pipeline which were given a high score. So you're very likely to end up somewhere where the green is. The yellow is deals which are less than sort of 65% close, so a bit more. And the red is basically everything. So you can really see how has my pipeline changed over time, but also how has it changed with respect to its composition. Here we have, for example, another chart. This one is easier to see, I think. This one shows you all the opportunities currently open by close date, by score, and the size of the circle will represent the size of the amount. So what you want to be seeing is, as the close date is getting, as you're getting close to the close date, you want your scores to be going up. Turns out in this example they don't do that super well. And I mean, in fact, you can. There's a whole dashboarding tool behind this, so users can create sort of arbitrarily complex dashboards like this very easily. I'll skip these things unless you're desperate. So I think what I'll do is I'll skip through this. I have 5 minutes or so.
Andy, do you have to do a cleanup typically of opportunities before you do this analysis when you get a new client?
No, that's interesting. No, we don't. The first few customers that we ran this with, their first question was, our main worry is that our data is junk, and it's going to be a case of junk in, junk out. And actually, with no cleaning up of their data, we did pretty well. We haven't come across a case where we have to do significant cleanup. There are cases where a lot of our customers are sort of larger enterprises. So, for example, someone like Yahoo may use a very complex way to do something like represent what does a one opportunity look like. You would like to think that there's a single flag which tells you is this opportunity one or not, but no, there's 5 different kinds of one, and each one is represented in a slightly different way. So typically, those are the kinds of problems we have to deal with. How to represent, what does a commit look like, what does a one deal look like, that sort of stuff. The rest of it, yeah, we can pretty much handle. There's a lot of the models are quite generic. Yeah. So I was going to talk a bit about forecasting. So can you see this? Yeah. So moving on from opportunity scoring, we're also embedding these features into the forecasting tool. And what's nice is the following. So what I call top-down forecasting. This is typically what an analyst would do on Wall Street, right? They would look at publicly available data about what's the S&P 500 doing, what's the FTSE doing, and they would apply, depending on the industry and so on, they would apply different models of growth. Is it cyclical? Is it cyclical with growth? Is it quadratic, or should I fit some other kind of curve to it? And then people would apply this, for purposes of revenue projection, quarter over quarter, and essentially just fit some kind of linear model to some kind of regression model to their overall data. But the disadvantage of this is that it doesn't tell you anything about what's actually in your pipeline, right? It doesn't tell you anything about a given deal. So what we do is we take these techniques and we combine them with the kinds of techniques that I've explained previously. So we take everything that's in your pipeline, opportunity A, we do some analysis on it. Here's a sort of BOGO picture, and get an expected value. We do a regression on the value, and there's some complications in here. We have to do some kind of birth-death analysis and so on about we'll talk about it later. And essentially, what we do is we get a projection on what's going to happen based on the deals in your pipe. We combine that with what's going to happen based on higher order aggregate measures, and then we come up with what we call this sort of hybrid or C9 forecast. So, for example, we've got the forecast is composed of the following: we've got the deals which are in your pipe, which is this, and we know this is actually pretty accurate from the previous analysis. We capture sort of cyclicality and other measures introduced by here. Well, we've got another measure which is I'm a month into the quarter. I want to know what's going to happen at the end of the quarter, and there are presumably some deals in bluebirds and so on which aren't in the pipeline, but can be reasonably expected to come in, and we can model those. So we'll model those. We put those in as well, right? And based on some of these things, we get a forecast. And this is something that's going to be coming soon towards the end of summer.
Quick question: do you take into account any other variables, either in the company or environmental variables that might affect the forecast? For example, the economy is growing, so maybe
Yeah. So yeah, we do take in some economic data, some linked data. We're working with some other companies to get more data right now, and doing some partnerships with some other big companies that will get us very interesting data sets. We don't capture we don't capture the breadth of data that sort of a typical analyst would do, right? Because that's our bread and butter. Our bread and butter is mostly over here and in pipeline management, but you don't need too much of this stuff to at least get something that's pretty good. Yeah.
How often do you normally forecast out?
How far out do we forecast? We typically do it by quarter, but the models are actually, we can predict within buckets of 30 days. So to be able to project to the end of the current quarter, you have to be able to project within a roughly arbitrary time period, right? Because if I'm 76 days into the quarter, I have to project the number of days remaining, right? Yeah. So this is something that adapts, and something that gives you a different result as you reevaluate it as time goes on. So I'm 45 seconds over, but please, if you have any questions, come and ask me now or after the talk, and you can email me. You can also visit our website, which I believe is about to be updated if it hasn't already. Great, thanks.
So can you work with the data in any other systems, or does it have to be in Salesforce?
No, we take data from, at the moment we take data from Salesforce, Marketo, a few other places which I can't remember. But actually a lot of our customers also give us a lot of proprietary data. So for example, commission plans for sales folk. I can't remember what else they give us, but we get a lot of custom data uploaded into the system as well. And then we do analysis by joining against that.
So do you create the model yourself, or does it have to be done by your team, or can the customer eventually take over the model and fine tune it?
The model being the thing which predicts something about opportunities. No, this is something that's internal. It's quite intricate, and it's tied to a lot of the internal stuff. No, we have a small number of knobs on the outside which one can tweak. So, for example, an example we had was we would consistently say that This opportunity is is scored this way, and the main reason for this is because the currency code is this. And this indeed was a very strong predictor of the opportunity, and the customer didn't like this for one reason or another, right? So we were able to tune some knobs and have that fall out. But beyond that sort of thing, we right now we just have a generic model which we.
So if you found a customer and if I'm buying your product,
Yeah.
I have to engage your services in perpetuity, or is it
well, you have to basically use the product. So the scoring is embedded into the product. It's not a consulting engagement. The models are the models are automatically built and so on, trained. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have a question. So I'm a marketing analyst and I work with sales.
Right.
And if you look at my office, out of 20 sales reps, they pretty much follow a normal distribution where 10 of them are really good with Salesforce. They keep stuff updated, and you have 5 of them who are really great at writing notes and keeping opportunities up to date, and 5 who are absolutely terrible. And we have sort of a system which is not perfect, but where you can actually sell the deal and not have to report it in Salesforce.
Right.
And I know you gave the example earlier about Yahoo, where they probably have very stringent rules and something like that would happen there.
Right.
When it comes to a smaller company, how would your forecasting account for user error, things like that, like bad sales rep or not updating information in Salesforce?
So we've had companies where the majority of their deals are entered, won or lost, right? And there's not a huge amount you can learn from this, other than distributions and things. Right now, there's not much more we can do about it, other than to say to them, look, we've done this with lots of other customers who have better quality data, and the results improve, and try to use this to change their behaviour in that way, right? If the salesperson can see that entering more data as they're going through the opportunity, the system is able to give them better cues about what's going on with the opportunity and what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. If they can see the benefit of this, then that's the aim here, right? Is to change their behaviour by doing that.
So it's safe to say that C9 works best for companies who use Salesforce more than just a customer management tool, because some companies just use it to manage customers, and some actually follow the sales cycles.
Yeah, it works much better when it has a well-defined sales cycle and people stick to this. Yeah, of course.
How do you get salespeople to buy in? Use it correctly?
There are 3 main users, I'd say, of this. One is a sort of CFO who wants to kind of have a dashboard from a financial perspective. One is the sales managers who want to, they're not super interested in the individual opportunity. They're interested in who's doing what. What does their distribution of opportunities look like? Who's managing what? And then there's the sales folk. Sales folk are generally pretty interested because, like I said, it helps them. It helps them manage their opportunities better, and I think gamification for salespeople is a very strong thing to do, right? It's typically pretty competitive environments, right? And things you can do to give them more information and have them get stuff analysed and compare themselves and improve their performances. These are all simple things you can do to engage them. Yeah. I mean, ultimately they get paid, right, based on what they close. So it's a pretty easy product to sell, right? If you can say, because of us, you've closed 1 extra deal this quarter, even if it's that, for lots of big companies, that's worth a lot of money.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, thanks.
So while we're waiting for our next presenter, C9 has got a $50 Amazon gift card. If anyone has not put in a business card, we're going to be having a drawing at the end. Next up, we've got Eric Huang and Lisa Zheng from SkyGlue. And SkyGlue's got a new interesting product that integrates Google Analytics to uniquely identify people in Salesforce.